The heartbeat of any successful business is generating leads and forming lasting relationships, which allows you to nurture connections and cultivate ways we can form and optimize relationships so that we can grow our business and impact in the rest of the world. Because at the end of the day, it's all connected by an ecosystem of chance and circumstances that we often materialize for ourselves. And my friends, according to a new study published by HubSpot in January of 2023, it found that 63% of marketers and entrepreneurs consider lead generation to be their top challenge, which highlights its critical importance to the entire echo chamber of your business. Now, I want to inject the story of my friend Drewbie Wilson into our conversation. He's someone who strives every day to set the best example for the people around him. At one point in his life, he weighed over 300 pounds and decided to take accountability for his actions, eventually losing over 100 pounds without the assistance of fad diets or get skinny quick schemes. He did it all through hard work, and he's assumed the mantle of leadership with several positions throughout his career. He's done everything from tech support in a software startup to becoming a vice president of a multi-million-dollar consulting company. If you need to know how to operate a business from the start to the finish, then Wilson is your guy. His fervent project now is something he cultivated on his own called Call the Damn Leads, which originated from Wilson cultivating leads from one of his clients, but them not taking action to follow up and generate the business that they were desiring. So Wilson picked up the phone and stumbled upon a business idea that would set him up for prosperity moving forward. And he's been calling the damn leads all the way to the bank and making sure that those he service now actually pick up the phone and do the legwork needed to connect, empower, and inspire others to reach their fullest heights of potential in business. And Wilson joined me this week to tell me all about his journey in his weight loss, his ascension to prominence in entrepreneurship, and how Call the Damn Leads has really transformed the way business people connect with others. I'm Kevin McShad, and at the end of this week, I'm excited to bring you an energetic conversation all about lead generation and life. So, without further delay, let's have this conversation. Drewbie, if you're ready, I'll take a moment to welcome you to the program, my friend, and I'm super excited to talk to you all about lead generation and your time in business. Great to see you, my friend, and happy Friday to you.
Hey, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here and to share some things that can really help, whoever we get the chance to hear us today, take their life to the next level so that they can live the way they truly want to live.
Absolutely, my friend. Well, I wanted to start our conversation a little on the beaten, off the beaten path, my friend, and ask you why you love living life. Why is life important to you?
life is important to me because I've been blessed with an opportunity by God to share the journey. So along the way, I went through, we'll call it a bit of a rough childhood, some ups, some downs, much like everyone. And what I've realized is that I'm blessed with an opportunity to share my journey so that someone else who's on a journey of their own can learn and see what's possible when you start making new decisions for yourself to live the life that you truly want to live. Because a lot of individuals, they kind of just fit into a box based on what everyone else tells them they should do or should be. And I find that when we step outside of that box and we embrace who we really feel we are inside, man, it just opens up a whole new world of opportunities. And I just want to be very grateful and blessed for the opportunity to share that with anyone who wants to hear it.
Absolutely. Now, my friend, I know that you are someone who strives for excellence in everything you do and trying to be a positive example for those that you are surrounded with on a daily basis. So tell me, what does striving for excellence mean to you, my friend?
Striving for excellence means that no one's perfect, right? We all make mistakes. We all have things that we mess up along the way. But if we just show up and we decide to do everything with the intentionality of doing it to the best of our ability in that moment, that's striving for excellence, because we know that at any given time when we're faced against a situation or we have a task to do, we have the choice to put all of our effort and energy into it, or we can put some of our energy into it. And what I've learned along the way is those things that we go all in on, those max bets that we play on ourselves, they always generate the biggest win and the biggest result.
Yeah, and you know what? One point in your life, my friend, I know that you struggled with your weight, weighing over 300 pounds, but you went on a weight loss journey where you lost over 100 pounds, my friend. So tell me about that journey and what you learned most about yourself along the way.
Yeah, that was it's a lifelong battle. I'm still facing it every single day, because body dysmorphia and the way that we see ourselves versus the comparisons we make to others on social media, it's something that I'll be honest, I deal with every day. At one point, I was about 315 pounds. Now I'm 6'1", so I'm a little bit of a taller guy, but even at 300 pounds, I wasn't a strong and fit 300 pounds. I was very much, dad bod, top heavy. And I had at the time I think he would have been about 3 or 4 years old, my son, and a beautiful wife at home. And I kind of had this realization that if I want to be the dad who is around long enough to see his son grow up, to set a good example of what a man should be and represent, then I'm going to have to make better decisions for myself. I'm going to have to get my health in order, because how awful would it be if, something happened to me and I had to sit up in heaven and watch down as someone else, raised my son and got to sleep in bed with my beautiful wife because I didn't make the time to take care of myself. And, honestly, after I thought about it, that doesn't really sound like heaven to me. So I didn't want to end up in that place where I missed out on my son's future or being there with my wife and getting to enjoy the blessing that we have to be on this planet.
Yeah, and just following up on that, so what does the concept of accountability mean to you? What do you think the new definition of accountability should be, and what does that mean to you, my friend?
Accountability is having a checks and balances system for your personal values or your personal ethics, morals, whatever you want to call them. And you could get real into the weeds with that, but it's just making that decision to say, this is the person who I want to be and who I'm going to identify as. And the accountability is putting in those boundaries to say that kind of individual would or would not do these specific actions. So, like, if you're saying, hey, I'm going to be a faithful spouse. Well, a faithful spouse has to make certain decisions and has to eliminate certain situations or places in their life because that's not where a faithful spouse would be or how they would behave. Same thing as, hey, I'm going to be a successful business owner. Okay, well, a successful business owner makes certain decisions, lives in a certain lifestyle, has to operate by a certain time frame in order to get the result of being a successful business owner. So to have accountability is just making a decision to implement those boundaries and then stick to them for an extended period of time.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Drewbie, I know that you started a company called Call the Damn Leads, my friend, and as a professional speaker myself, I can relate to the effectiveness of actually getting on the phone and calling people. So tell me about why it's important to connect with people from an authentic perspective and one-on-one, my friend, and tell me about the company as well.
Yeah, thank you so much for asking. I'm very excited about it. It started almost as a joke phrase between some friends and I. We had started a marketing company a number of years ago, and we were getting clients and we were getting leads for our clients. And one of the biggest things that we ran into were not all of our clients were willing to pick up the phone and call those individual leads and make the transaction happen. So people were like, well, we don't know if this works. And I just, they didn't want to do the work. And Kevin, you and I both know, man, if you want to get a result, you have to do the work. And so Call the Damn Leads started as a joke. I had one client specifically that I had gotten a lot of leads for. He was making some fuss and complaining that it wasn't working. So I picked up the phone and called those leads myself, realized that they were great. He just wasn't doing the work. So I sent him a refund and said, hey, man, you need to call the damn leads. And that's how it was all born. It started as a joke. And then I said, I should put this on a t-shirt and sell it to some other business owners because I'll bet they would appreciate it. Here we are, fast forward a couple of years later, it's become a full-on brand. It's a trademarked phrase. I'm so excited to be taking it on the road and be speaking and sharing that journey because if you want the result in sales, in marketing, you have to call the damn leads. And that's what it is. It's just, again, one more mantra for doing the work.
Yeah, absolutely. So, how do you think business owners who are great at the operational side of business, but not so good at the human side of it, can sort of get out of their shell and comfort zone and actually pick up the phone to engage in conversation? What do you think is the key to eliminating sort of the friction or the unwillingness to actually pick up a phone, my friend?
They have to stop selling and start serving. The problem is a lot of individuals that I work with, they have call reluctance because they are in a mindset where they're only calling to try to sell this individual something. And there's a disconnect because they don't feel good about it or they don't want to do the work. And, when I realized is that when you show up and you're genuinely just trying to serve and to help every single person that you have a conversation with walk away from that conversation better off than when you found them, life gets a lot better. And what happens is you start making more money as a byproduct because the more people you help solve their problem, the more people want to pay you to keep solving that problem for them. And, with me, Kevin, I look at every conversation. It could potentially be a sales conversation, but it's always a service conversation first. How can I make sure this individual feels valued, feels heard, and feels important so that they know they can trust me to help them get the result they're looking for?
Yeah, absolutely. And Drewbie, tell me, for those people that are looking to generate leads specifically for whatever they're trying to sell, what do you think is the key to over time consistently generating leads that are consistent, my friend?
You know what? I think, Kevin, you're setting a great example of this, as a matter of fact. A podcast is a great way to generate leads and opportunity. People do business with people who they know, like, and trust. So if you want people to get to know you in your marketplace, the best thing you can do is share your story. Talk about what is interesting to you. Share the things that bring you joy and happiness, because inevitably there's probably someone else out there in the world who has a similar interest to you. And so if you have a product or service who that individual may need, well, now that there's a common interest, there's reason for them to want to do business with you. So to generate leads, the best way to do it consistently is to simply to share your story so that others who have an interest in learning more about you can do so. And a podcast is a great way. I love that you come out here and you talk to other professionals because you have an interest in entrepreneurship and growth and learning. And you've basically said, hey, this is something I'm interested in. I'm going to tell my story. I'm going to learn from other individuals who are willing to tell their story. And what happens is now other individuals who don't know you or I at all may hear this and think, well, this is really interesting. I'd like to know more about what they offer as a product or a service. Maybe I'll reach out to them to start taking that next step. So this is a great example of a lead generation strategy right here.
Yeah, podcasting is one of the new ways to start a conversation, isn't it?
It sure is. It's a great, and you know what? What a great conversation we're having today, Kevin. And this is what I really love about podcasting. So thanks for having me today.
Well, hence the name of my podcast right now. I'm only kidding. What? So, Drew, you talk about telling a story, and outside of hosting this podcast, but I help organizations as a professional speaker sort of build a more inclusive culture with minimal effort, and I help them understand the competitive advantage that can come to their business if they hire folks with disabilities. So tell me, why do you think employers should embrace inclusion as a competitive advantage in business? And what sort of competitive advantage do you think comes from hiring folks with disabilities?
I absolutely love that. And you know what I think is the advantage? Is every individual on the planet has a superpower. And when you can open up your mind to embracing each person's superpower, you can find a way for them to provide value and to create a massive impact in an organization. And so if an individual isn't great at, working with their hands, or in your case, obviously you're not out delivering packages or doing anything like that, but you know what you're really great at? Communicating, making people feel heard, making people feel like you genuinely care about what they're saying. And so here's an opportunity for someone to be able to include others and just embrace their superpower, right? What is this individual really good at? How can we use them on our team in a way that will make them feel like they're confident and able to deliver? Because when someone feels good and is confident in their ability to do a job, they want to do it more. They want to do it better. They want to keep growing and learning. So I think the advantage is learning to embrace every person's strengths, and then being open to where you can find a place on your team to help embrace that. Because again, every team player that brings value to your team just gives you a chance to help more people in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And Drewbie, tell me, what do you think it means to operate with energy and enthusiasm in business?
I think operating with energy and enthusiasm means being willing to show up and smile, even if you're having a bad day. We all have days where things go wrong. Technology doesn't work. The Wi-Fi is cutting in and out. Maybe there's a big deal that we were counting on that backs out. This is life. This is entrepreneurship. If you can still show up, put a smile on, and be there to serve the other individual who's there to have that conversation with you, I think in the end, God always looks out for you. So if you can just be energetic and enthusiastic about knowing no matter what season you're in personally, you're going to do the best to help everyone around you be successful, I don't think there's anything to worry about.
Yeah, and how, Drewbie, do you think we can use rejection as a sort of motivating factor in business? Because no matter how successful you are as an entrepreneur, you will face rejection at some point. So how can we use rejection as a learning experience moving forward? And how can we cope with it as well, in your opinion?
I think you hit the nail on the head when you said making a learning experience, right? We're not going through losses, we're taking new lessons. So when you can show up and look at every experience as an opportunity to learn, rejection is just an opportunity to understand, okay, objectively, what happened in this situation? Let's step back from the emotional side of it, right? Let's get away from the sadness, the anger, the hurt, all those emotions that are attached, and let's look at it objectively. What was the process? We had a conversation, like maybe it's in sales. Let's just use that as the example, right? Maybe you have someone who rejects you in sales. Well, okay, reverse engineer it. What was the conversation? Was there a part of your process that you would normally go through that maybe you skipped, and that is what led to the rejection? Maybe that individual had a certain need or a certain issue that they were dealing with that you overlooked because you did not go through that part of the process. Maybe that individual wasn't a good person to do business with in the end. And what you needed to realize was looking at the bigger picture of you wanted the deal so bad, but maybe God was looking out and wanted you to learn that these red flags were showing up for a reason. So you needed to learn what to look for when the next opportunity showed up so that you could put yourself in the right position.
Yeah, and I know that you're someone who describes yourself as an action taker, my friend, with the finger on the pulse of serving others. And I know that financially it's been lucrative for you, and I'm sure that in other ways it's also been lucrative for you as well. So tell me about taking action in business and what that means to you.
Taking action in business. That means that you got to go get it done, not wait for it to be perfect. And so for me, a great example is when I walked away last year from my multi-six-figure C-suite position in a corporation. I knew I was going to have to go and take massive action so that I could get the momentum in my new business to get back on my feet. And so what I did is I basically took the 2 weeks right before Christmas. You know, most people take that time off and they're like, well, I'm going to wait and we'll get to that at the new year. I took that 2 week span. I wrote an entire book. I launched a new podcast and I recorded 20 podcast episodes. So taking massive action is just being willing to go and get things done, not waiting for them to be perfect. Because if they're done, then you can always make adjustments as you go. But if you're getting the experience and feedback from the real world, whereas if you're waiting for it to be perfect, you may never finish, and then you may launch it to the world and realize you still have more changes to make. So I think that just putting it out there and adjusting as you go is how you take massive action instead of trying to wait for something to be perfect.
Yeah, and Drewbie, I know that you've had a diverse career portfolio to this point, my friend. So if I was to ask you to put your philosophy in business or in entrepreneurship on a bumper sticker, what do you think the bumper sticker would say, my friend?
I mean, I'm going to have to just say that it would say call the damn leads.
I
And
figured
I've already
you would
got
say
some I've got some bumper stickers in the works, so that's already a real thing that's happening already, which is, cool to say.
Yeah, and I know I asked you about diversity for folks with disabilities earlier, but what do you think is the key to developing diversity in your lead generation process? What do you think that looks like, my friend?
Ooh, I think diversifying in lead generation is really about looking at where is your ideal client hanging out, right? What platforms are they using? What things are they interested in? And then being very specific about how you put your message in front of them so that you can attract the ideal client that you want to be doing business with, and understanding that, again, every person is unique. Just because someone needs to buy home or auto insurance doesn't mean that they fit a specific box. What you're really working on to diversify is who are you as an individual? What product or service do you offer? And how can you put your spin on the marketing to make sure that it's attracting the kind of people who are going to relate to you, and diversify yourself from the 99% of the world that's just doing the same basic copy and paste marketing strategies?
Yeah, absolutely, my friend. And I know that you've been in leadership positions throughout the course of your life. As a husband, you're a leader, and your family, I'm sure you're a leader. And in the business world, you've been a leader. So I'm curious, what in your mind qualifies someone to be a transformational and magnetic leader that people want to follow? So how do you define effective leadership, my friend?
I think effective leadership starts with yourself. Over the years, I've worked with a lot of leaders that would say one thing, but they didn't always operate the same way that they said, kind of like do what I say, not as I do. And so to me, I think effective leadership is setting the example. You have to set the example from the start for yourself by living out the words that you're using and saying. And when you can do that, I think it shows others that you are who you say you are, and that's what motivates or inspires them to follow you. I think that's what leadership is the ability to create enough influence in what you do to teach others to follow you and learn from what you're doing. And that's what's great is that you can be a leader who's also led by several others because you may not have every skill set that you need in certain areas of life. So you may have a spiritual leader, you may have a physical leader, someone who's a little bit farther ahead in the journey than you are that you're following. And just knowing that if you're doing it right, there are people who will want to follow behind you because you're setting the good example of what you're learning from those where you're going.
Yeah, and Drewbie, I want to talk to you about the idea of operating in business with integrity and humility, because sometimes in business people are so interested in increasing profits or making a sale that sometimes integrity and humility go out the window. But I know it's an important strategy that you use in business. So how do you think we can amplify integrity and humility in business?
Oh man, those are so important. And I think those really just start with individual core values. Are you someone who's genuinely trying to help others? There's nothing wrong with making a profit in business. That's what we're in business to do. Nobody gets to eat for free, right? Exposure doesn't put a chicken sandwich on the table. We're all in business to make a profit. It's that when you're actively taking advantage of someone or you're maliciously going about a process that's not going to get someone the result, that to me is a lack of integrity. That to me is when you're doing something or saying something and then you're not actually following through with those same actions to do or say, the thing that you said you were going to do.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I wanted to separate them because I think integrity and humility are kind of two different things, right? Integrity is like how you show up, when you show up, everywhere. And then humility is the ability to accept and just be open with the fact that you don't know what you don't know. Now, you may be an expert in a specific topic, and also there's probably others on the planet who may know a little bit more than you. I mean, it's pretty rare that we meet the smartest individual in the world or the most strongest individual. Yeah, they may be that, but again, that's only for a short period of time because things are always growing and changing and evolving. So I think humility is the ability to say, hey, I'm very confident about the things that I know and where I'm at in my journey, and a willingness to say that I don't know everything and I'm open to learning what I'm still waiting to learn.
Well, Drewbie, there's a sign in my office that says life is a constant game of learning, because it's my belief that no matter how many years you go to school or how many degrees you have on a wall, you can always learn something from somebody else, right?
I love that, Kevin. I'm gonna have to look for a poster like that because that's ringing right with me, buddy.
Then if you use it, I want 10% of your commission. Okay, no, I'm only kidding. Hey, Drewbie, you also tell me that confidence and empathy are your superpowers, my friend, and I'm wondering if you can explain to me why you hold that philosophy, my friend.
Well, I think one of the things that I've developed over time, and I've had to work on it because I wasn't always a great listener, but I've really tried to focus on understanding where others are coming from before making a snap judgment. I think all of us are guilty of judging a book by its cover and seeing the outside of something and kind of just making a snap decision, which is important to survival. That's part of our fight or flight mechanism internally. That's just how we operate. It's being able to look past that initial judgment and being able to listen to what someone's going through and understanding what their current experience or model of the world is. And then the other side of that to me is the confidence to show up and be able to say, hey, I'm in a position to understand who you are, what you're going through, and help you with that. Or say, you know what, I can't help you with that. I'm here to support in XYZ fashion, but if you do need help, here's someone that I can, introduce you to. I just want to be a plug for like problem solving. I want to meet people. I want to get to know them. I want to understand what they've got going on in their life. And if there's something that I can do to provide value, that's how I want to be. So from a confidence standpoint, I'm confident that if I meet you and spend a little time chatting with you, I can probably offer something of value that's going to help you live a better life. And whether it's monetarily beneficial or not, like that's to be determined. But ultimately, the seeds that we sow by helping others now is what's going to lead to the fruits that we harvest in the future.
And to that point, Drewbie, tell me, what is your definition of acceptance?
Acceptance is understanding that you don't have to have the same version or let me rephrase this. So acceptance. This is great to fit in with success as a perspective. What I see as a successful life is going to be different than what you see, Kevin, and is probably different than what the listener sees. Acceptance is a willingness to say, okay, your version of the world is your version of the world, and my version of the world is my version of the world. I'm okay with your version if you're okay with my version, so long as both versions are leading us in the right direction and not harming others.
Yeah, and I want to also talk to you about resiliency and the idea of being authentic. And before I ask you the question, my friend, I'm going to tell you a story about myself. So I graduated college originally with a degree in sports and multimedia journalism because I wanted to be a sports reporter. But when I went to interview for jobs with news directors, I was rejected. Rejected by no more than 10 because they told me I had a lot of energy and enthusiasm for the business of journalism and reporting, but they viewed my disability at the time. So I graduated college in 2010, and they viewed my disability as a liability. So outside of college, it took me 6 years, Drewbie, to get my first paying job as a journalist and a reporter. And when I finally got it, I kind of fell into motivational speaking by accident. And I used my story as leverage to help other people that look like me find and locate gainful employment. So the way I look at life is every opportunity is an experience to make a difference, my friend. And when I got my first job out of college in February of 2016, and that was advocating for folks with disabilities to find work. And through that, our local provincial government found me, and they wanted me to run a project called the Discoverability Network, which was the province's first online job matching portal for folks with disabilities and employers to get connected. And because I knew a lot of people and I networked during the time that I was unemployed, I actually was the first regional ambassador for the project because they told me I knew a lot of people and I knew how to form relationships, my friend. So I'm curious, and I share that story with you to ask you, what's your definition of resilience and how can we use it as a competitive advantage in our life and professional story?
Oh, that is so good. Resilience. And first of all, thank you for sharing that story with me. Like that's what a beautiful gift to get to hear that. And I hope the listener heard that and understands that everyone goes through tough seasons. Everyone has times in their life where, you can't see the top of the mountain unless you're willing to come down to the bottom and go through the valley so that you can reach the top of the next mountain. And so I think resilience is understanding that on your journey, you're going to go through tough seasons. The winter has to come through so that you can get to the spring, so that you can enjoy the summer. And then the summer has to happen so that you can grow everything, so that you can have the harvest in the fall. Resilience is just knowing that if you can wake up and keep going day after day, eventually you're going to get through the season and you're going to reach that next phase. You're going to reach that next opportunity. It's so hard to just say it without, sounding crass or kind of just sounding cliche, but like ultimately your waking up today was a gift. And it's your decision to embrace that gift. And resiliency is accepting that gift and moving forward no matter what is thrown at you, and knowing that you're embracing that gift that you've been blessed with to live today. And if you can just keep making it through, that resiliency, that just making it through, that's what's going to lead you to living the life you want to live eventually.
Yeah, and Drew, what do you think it means to maximize adrenaline in life? How can we use adrenaline as an advantage or superpower?
Ooh, so I think maximizing adrenaline starts with learning how to channel it. Because you can have adrenaline from anger, but that may not be a positive fuel. Whereas adrenaline from putting yourself in a decision of working really hard to get a result under a timeline, that's a different type of adrenaline, different type of energy. So I think it's understanding how to channel that adrenaline and how to create it artificially so that you can use it as a tool versus, again, if your adrenaline is fueled by anger, the only way to make that happen is to go out and to cause situations that will create anger. And those don't typically have a productive result in the end. So if you want to be able to channel that adrenaline, you have to create situations that will raise the adrenaline in your body that are also congruent and conducive to the result that you're trying to get. Hopefully I explained that well.
Absolutely. And my friend, I've got two questions left for you. And the first has to do with expectations. And before I ask you the questions, I'll give you sort of my philosophy on expectations. So, it's my belief when it comes to expectations, if you don't sort of pour a fundamental level of your own personal expectations of yourself, it's kind of hard to artificially meet the level of expectations that others have for you. And the only set of expectations you have to meet at the end of the day are your own, right? So tell me about forming expectations and holding yourself accountable, because it's my belief that we make time for the things in life that we prioritize. Would you agree with that?
Oh, I could go on a 45-minute rant presentation about that, Kevin. I agree with you 110%, my friend. I think expectations, especially in life, come back to kind of what I mentioned before, deciding and getting clear on what is your version of success. Because once you know what that version looks like, then you can reverse engineer like, all right, what do I need to do every day to make that a reality? Because those become your base expectations every day. Well, hey, if I want to make, $100,000 a year, then I've got to make a minimum of, I think it's like $7,500 a month or something, right? So, okay, well, what do I have to do every month to make that my income level? What's the expectation of effort to be put in daily to make that a reality? And I think that applies in every area of your life. You can't just expect to lose weight and be in shape while you're chugging down soda, and eating fried food all day. That's just not how it works. So setting expectations for yourself kind of comes from deciding what you want and then reverse engineering from where you are. From what you want to where you are now, and then looking at those steps and saying, hey, these are the expectations in my life now. I have to do these every day if I expect myself to get the result that I'm looking for.
Yeah, and Drewbie, I know that you're an author, my friend, and you connect with people. One of the ways you connect with people is by writing books. So my final question for you, my friend, has to do with if I gave you an hour to write the last chapter of your life, how do you think you would write the last sentence of the chapter of your life, my friend? How do you want your legacy to be remembered?
That he crushed the day before it could crush him.
Yeah, absolutely. And setting an example for other people is something that I know that you're a big believer in. So, how do you think we can be effective teachers of experience for other people?
You know what? I think that really just comes back to showing up, being your authentic self, and then being willing to set that example. Because if you can just show up and do the work and be the example of what that looks like, it will lead others to want to follow you down that path.
Yeah, absolutely. And finally, my friend, tell me if people want to get connected with the good work that you're doing, my friend, what's the most effective way they can do that?
Thank you so much, Kevin. I first want to just say, if you guys enjoyed this show, make sure you share it out on social media. Tag Kevin and then tag me at Call the Damn Leads. Everywhere, anywhere, that's our phrase. That's what our taglines are. That's our social media handles. If you are interested in learning more about sales, what my process looks like, you can download a free copy of the book at callthedamnleads.com/free book offer. So if you would be interested, I would love to share that with you. Absolutely free. Download the PDF, read it, implement it, make some changes, and get a result. Because, Kevin, that's what we're here to do today. We're here to help someone, learn some things, make some new decisions, and ultimately go take action to live the life they want to live.
Absolutely. Well, life is all about translating it into results, isn't it?
It sure is.
One way or the other, my friend. Well, I want to tell you that I thoroughly enjoyed spending a couple of minutes with you, my friend. Your work in the space of entrepreneurship and empowerment is truly admirable, my friend, and I'm honored to have to spend a couple of minutes with you to engage in conversation about life, entrepreneurship, and everything in between, my friend. I want to wish you a good weekend, and I want to thank you for engaging in conversation and for being here today. It's most appreciated.
Hey, the honor is all mine, Kevin. I cannot tell you how much I enjoyed our conversation, how excited I am for this to get out into the world and for someone to hear it and make a change in their life, and how excited I really am to start following more of your journey and seeing the massive impact that you're making on the world. So thank you for gifting me with your time today.